I want to understand why is how did you get there? Like, how did that even say become a business idea for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I live by myself, and so I found that I got really bored of eating like spaghetti and some of these things because they're very quick and easy to make. And so I wanted to have Nigerian food in my fridge, and I noticed that the only time I could actually have that is if I went to a Nigerian restaurant and paid, whatever amount, or I drove across the city to go see my auntie and hang out and bring my Tupperware and say, scoop me some smaller rice, please, before I leave. And there was one day I remember I was sitting there waiting for her to scoop my rice. There was other people who she was cooking for, so she's been cooking for free for all these people.
Welcome to the Newcomers podcast, people, where I explore what it means to be an immigrant with immigrants like myself. Today I'm talking to Daniella Jasper-Okumagba, who runs the bridge. She moved here as a 9-year-old and then worked in oil and gas and then left an oil and gas cushy job to what build a business, which is interesting. But welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Me too. Me too. I mean, because I feel like there are a ton of places we could go. You know, I actually want to ask you, like, how, or maybe the first place to kind of start this off is oil and gas is a pretty chill job. I know it gets a bad rep now because environmentalist and the oil price and all that stuff, but for a kid who is half Nigerian, half Canadian, Nigerian parents, oil and gas is the kind of job you get, and people go like, "Yeah, you got to stay in forever." So like, like, how did your mom take it when you told her, "Mama, I'll go start a business"?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's one of those things where both my parents are entrepreneurs. So,
Oh, dope.
but my mom, I would say my mom was more for it as long as I felt confident. But my dad was very much against it because he felt like I needed more corporate experience, wanted me to do like at least 5 years, before going full time. But then I told him, guys, like, my contract is coming up. I can renew it or I can just do something new. And that's what I decided to do. I said, guys, I'm ready. Like, I need this. I felt like if I accomplished as much as I did with what I had back then, doing it on the side, I was like, how much more can I do doing it full time? And so that was all I needed.
Has it, do you think, if you think about that call, because you just described something really interesting right now, which is that thing about you're doing it on the side and it's growing and it feels like it will, when you go full time, it'll grow that fast. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it does. Do you think it has?
I think it definitely has. Like, I think like at the end of the day, also when you are full time in your business, like there's no excuses for anything, right? Like you have the time now, you have the capacity, you have everything. So you have more opportunities to go out and take more risks and be more
Yeah.
creative. Which I honestly I think that was the biggest catalyst for growth. I was able to meet people during daytime hours, not like after work, like little things
Yeah.
like that that really help
Yeah.
move things forward. And yeah, I think full time that's what it gives you.
Yeah. I want to go back to like what led to this because I think you're doing something really interesting. As we were talking on the pre-show, I always say food is like one way into culture.
Yeah.
And the bridge, like I said to you, like the business clicked in my head some weeks ago when I was like, gosh, like the bridge actually, because that's what it is. It's a bridge between folks from other backgrounds and
Mhm.
Canada, and it's like that's what
Right.
you are. It's basically saying, hey, I'll provide the bridge where you can taste this culture's food and you can understand them. And so I want to understand why is how did you get there? Like how did that even say become a business idea for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I live by myself, and so I found that I got really bored of eating like spaghetti and some of these things because they're very quick and easy to make. And so I wanted to have Nigerian food in my fridge, and I noticed that the only time I could actually have that is if I went to a Nigerian restaurant and paid, whatever amount, or I drove across the city to go see my auntie and hang out and bring my Tupperware and say, scoop me some smaller rice, please, before I leave. And there was one day I remember I was sitting there waiting for her to scoop my rice. There was other people who she was cooking for, so she's been cooking for free for all these people, and it really bothered me. I'm like, okay, I'm family, like, I'm blood. So, that's different. But those guys, like, you're buying the ingredients, you're cooking the food, you're calling them to say it's ready. Like, that's a lot. And people are just taking advantage of it. So it really bothered me why food entrepreneurs are struggling, why they don't grow. And so I looked on Facebook Marketplace. I saw there was a lot of them on there. You see a lot of like ethnic restaurants in like Northeast area. Like those guys are also struggling. So I'm like, what is wrong with the restaurant industry? And so I just spent a lot of time just investigating, learning, and it dawned on me that they're just not business people. Like they are chefs, they're artists, like they like to be in the kitchen and run the kitchen. And running the kitchen is a business in its own because you gotta hire staff, train them, make sure they know the recipes, all that stuff. Like it's a lot of work. So to add on as a business owner, a restaurant owner, you also have to go and buy, marketing and go do all these outreach and all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to do on your own. So I wanted to be that almost. I almost like when I reflect on it, like being like that eldest daughter of like all these like stubborn, older people that just don't want to change. They don't want to adjust. But it's like, okay, listen, I'm gonna sit here with you. I'm telling you, if you do this, we change this, and I take it to this company, we'll be able to sell it. And so I started with one chef, then two, then three, then four, and then it just kind of grew from there. And when I felt that, okay, I can have the capacity to really build this and really make it big, and I had that vision still from when I first started. It gave me all the confidence I needed, to grow it.
It's interesting how I hear you on the part about um helping the folks, but at the core of it is really just Daniela longing for home in a way.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair, 100%. I mean, I would admit I was a lazy teenager that just felt like my mom's gonna be around forever. You know what I mean? Like if I really want to eat something, like she's gonna be around. So when it did break out that she moved to a different province and I'm actually by myself, it really dawned on me like, wow, I don't know how to make any soups. Like now I can make stew, I can make jollof rice, but I can't make egusi soup or okra soup and honestly those things to me is so expensive to even experiment. Like, if I make my stew, if I make it down and everything and I add all the ingredients and it comes out, doesn't taste good, that money's gone. You know what I mean? And you missed a step somewhere, it's not drying,
Yeah.
I'd be sitting in my fridge, I'd just be upset. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I feel like I'd rather, know a chef who can make this is their thing. Like they make stew, they make soup, and just say, hey, every 2 weeks you can just, portion it like this for me, so I can put it in my fridge, make my pounded yam, eat. Like that's ideal. But yeah, but I'm still learning as I'm going to the kitchens. I reach out to my chefs, I watch them, I see how they do it. But yeah, I mean, definitely it's made me more
Of
lazy.
course, of course, of course. I mean, I can imagine that with all the chefs you have on your rooster you're working with, there's no way that that doesn't rub off on you. Like you're like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna experiment with this because food is really once you kind of understand the core, like once you understand flavors. I almost feel like food you kind of experiment with it. Because my wife, like, she has this funny thing where she goes like, oh, this will be good in here, and this will be good in here, and
Mhm.
she just does the thing with the food, and I'm just like, what? How? Like, how did you come on? She's like, oh no, once you understand how this tastes and how that tastes, they're like, if you put it together, you could get X, that sort of thing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
although I was gonna say, I found it interesting that you said you didn't know how to cook anything, but the one thing you said you could cook is jollof rice. Like it feels like no one
And stew, and
and
stew. I
stew.
can make
No, all
stew.
the stew. Everyone, every Nigerian learns how to cook
Yeah.
stew pretty. I feel like
100%.
stew is much easier to learn than the rest of it all.
100%. But you're talking about egusi soup, like you have to like, put it in a paste and then spread it around properly, watch it, make sure the oil are using palm oil. I'm like, you know what? There's people in our society that like cooking. They
Yeah,
love cooking and they're underutilized. Oh, it's too expensive. Like, well, if you're able to talk to them in a way where if I'm ordering, another person's ordering, and get another person to order, then it's profitable for them and everybody gets their food. Like I just see it being just a simple solution if I'm able to pair those two talents, like the chef and the business person or the salesperson or the marketing person. Like it's gold. You
yeah.
striking gold.
Yeah, like starting a business is tough.
100%.
What was that fear like for you? Like, was it like, you know what, I love this thing, I'm going to try it. If it fails, I'll go back to work, or was it like, you know what, I'm all in, I'm just going to make sure it works?
Yeah, I think I haven't had much fear. I would say like when I started my business, it was mainly out of curiosity. I've always been a student. Like I'm a person who loves asking questions. Like I feel like even in university, it's why my professors, I took elective my professors because nobody wants to ask a question. And I find that I would rather ask a question and be stupid and feel dumb, but have an answer that gives me an anchor to my understanding than for me to just pretend like, I'm absorbing everything and I get it and I don't. And I also recognize that, being young, like I started my business like 22, and I know nothing. I come from a place of I know nothing. I don't really know how I can help you. I have an idea. This is what I'm working on. And so the curiosity has always fueled my entrepreneurial journey. It's like I feel like the more you learn, the stronger you become because you need to take risks in order to grow your business. Like I don't think I've ever met any like successful entrepreneur that sold their business that like calculated, oh, if this doesn't work out, then I'll do this. Like no, they just take the step and then they adjust. But they see the vision, like the goal, as like that's what I need to attain, not, oh, well, this one didn't work out, I'm not sure. So I've always kind of been a serial optimist, but I think when it comes to business, like I just have such an avid like desire to learn. Like I really like learning. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say. Like I think it's hard because mindset wise, like you think, am I capable? Imposter syndrome kind of comes in a little bit, but at the end of the day, I'm also super young. Is my 20s are like the best time to make mistakes. I don't have any kids. I don't have any big responsibilities. Like why not? If I go bankrupt in my 20s, you can restart. Like you know what I mean? I look at people like Trump. Like that's a point of bankruptcy. You file bankruptcy and then you restart. Your life isn't over, right? I don't know. I just feel like the world's our oyster. Like when they used to say it, right? Like you can literally do anything. Like I might as well just try it, to my full capacity, and then go from there.
That's a very interesting place and way to see the world, and I love that. I think the other thing for me is, so you aren't born here, but you grew up here,
Yeah,
and so you're almost like you're an immigrant, but not an immigrant.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're an immigrant, but you're not an immigrant because, like, you moved here at 9, so basically, it feels like you've spent enough time within the system to understand the system. Now, when you meet other immigrant entrepreneurs like yourself, what do you think is different between both of you, and what do you think you can learn from them, and what do you think they can learn from you?
I think a lot of immigrants have the passion and the drive to start something new, which I think a lot of Canadians and Western people just don't do. Like they're very comfortable with like the 9 to 5, clock in, clock out. Whereas immigrants, because they came here and they took a risk, they're way more risk averse, which I really admire. Where I do think that there's a bit of fault is the arrogance, right? I think there's a bit of arrogance when it comes to like, okay, I don't know this area, I don't know how to communicate with these people, and seeking out and asking a question as opposed to seeking out and telling them what to do. I think like a lot of immigrants have like that drive and passion, but they don't have the patience to learn and educate themselves on like, okay, how what is the fastest way for me to get what I want and what is the longest way for me to get what I want, and understanding the difference between the two. Because for you can get where you want to go eventually. You will get there eventually with your passion, with your drive, but you can get there faster when you know who to talk to, who to communicate with, who can you can collaborate with, so that you can get there faster. And I think that's where I always see like the misalignment, and in the food industry especially because oh, I ran a business in my country, I know what I'm doing, da da da. It's like okay, but in Canada there's regulations. You can't cook from home. You can't solicit customers. You can't just open a pop up in front of your house and the people can come, right? Like you have to be a little bit more strategic. So knowing who can help you, who can advise you, who can guide you, like those are things I think a lot of immigrants lack, I would say.
Just kind of noodling on that a bit. Do you think that's a function of people are trying to just kind of get back onto groove as fast as possible. So they're like, you know what is how fast can I start making money? And then in that process, you make calls that you wouldn't otherwise make, or you don't spend enough time because in your mind you're like, this thing is moving too slow and my bank account is moving too fast for my liking. So that
Mm.
delta just kind of drives a certain kind of behavior from for these folks.
Yeah, fight or flight, 100%. So, I mean, I think every entrepreneur faces that for sure. But I think it comes from a place of not having proper planning. Like I feel like if you did have a business in a different country and you come here, you have to investigate what other people are doing first before you jump in. I think if you're someone that's like a seasoned entrepreneur, that's like, that's like no brainer. Like if I were to start over, that's what I would do. Like I would have asked way more questions. I think what I did was I asked questions and I acted. Asked questions and acted. I didn't ask questions, reflect, and then act, which is it's a little huge difference than just doing it. So I would say like that. I think that's where the urgency can really set you back further because you still have to learn. Like I feel like you can't grow a business without spending money. I don't know who. I really it frustrates you when people are looking to like spend money on marketing. They're like, oh, it's so expensive. Oh, it's so expensive. Like it costs money, right? But knowing when you need to spend money on marketing, when you need to spend time on sales, when you need to spend time on your product, like those are things that you have to learn as you grow your business. So I think it's just like I think it's, I don't know. I think that's how I would respond to it. I don't know.
Fair enough. I mean, it's. I feel like I hear you. I mean, I always like to kind of say there's always a mix in somewhere in there, which is that
Mhm.
one is I think that like with business, ideally you should plan in the ideal world. But I think what I'm just one thing I like to I've come to accept is that I think is the human condition. We always have to kind of get burnt before we learn stuff. I think I don't know. I don't if you brought 100 people, I'm not sure that maybe if you had 10 people, only 2% of them are the ones who would be like, you know what, I will do this like this, like this, like this, like that. But more often than not, most people learn through just going through the making the mistakes and getting burnt and getting hurt. The question sometimes or the prayer is that you don't fall into a hole that buries you completely. But in the ideal world, you should plan and stuff, but most people don't. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I think planning. There's two sides to planning. Like especially when you're starting a business, you have to plan and then have the capacity to adjust. Like I don't think you should have a plan and then be like, This is all I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. I think you
Fair.
should have a plan of this is what I want to launch, and then you pivot based on how the market is reacting to you. That's the fastest way to grow, as opposed to saying like, I'm gonna spend like 90 days. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm gonna do it. This is where I'm gonna do it. Like I would only take that from like someone who's maybe already started a business and they know the industry and it's something that's like can be repeated, like a dry cleaners or just these simple businesses that have already been proven. Then that's not difficult. Like I invest this, I get that, right? But if it's something that you're building a product, you're building something new, offering a service, you are one of a lot of other people talking at them. There's education that has to be involved. There's understanding what's your messaging, like what do you need to do to captivate a larger audience. All these things are the learning phase. Like you have to be flexible. I was gonna say palpable, but flexible. You know.
Now let's come back to you.
Okay.
This is a very straight up question. How flexible do you think you've been? Like, do you think you haven't gone on the journey, like had to learn this the hard way, or do you think it's just been like you learned it just like turning on the switch and you're like, oh yeah, I adjust.
I'm very flexible. I tell even people on my team, like I've had people who interview for like to do social media and they end up being an operations person, or they interview to be like on my driver's team, and they end up being great as a content creator. Like I'm very, I understand. I have the vision of where I want to go. I just don't know how I'm gonna get there. Right? I don't know like the full like if I talk to this person and this person and this person. So I always tell people I'm a student of the game. Right? That's what entrepreneurship is. It's a game of understanding what puzzle fits for things to start flowing. You're gonna have to build a foundation for sustainability, but then you're gonna have to try different, move the puzzle piece a couple different times to find where it fits. And I've changed a lot since I started my business. Like I not don't even think just in the service we provide, but me personally, like in my character and like how I approach things. When people bring me ideas, like I'm a different person now. So I know that, you know, for my business to be successful, I also need to be willing to adjust and change and mold to be the person that I need to become when the business is does actually finally hit, that big stride and we're on, I don't know, Dragon's Den and I'm on talk shows and whatever. And we can say, oh, back then, remember Dozy, remember that last time we chatted, like so,
Fair.
yeah, yeah.
What's something you had to do in the early days of building these that you've never had to do before in your life?
Build a website, build a website and cold call people. Never done a cold call in my life until I started this business, and I had to kill my ego. Like I think that was like the biggest thing because at the beginning I assumed that once it launches, everybody's gonna love this product. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We got on the news, everyone's flooding to the website, no orders. I'm like, what? So I really had to die to what I expected and what I wanted to
yeah.
really allow it to reveal to me like what am I providing that people actually like and they are gravitating towards, they love, they'll champion. And that's what it built, the bridge.
I love that point you make about killing your ego. I think like that's the biggest thing. Like that is the biggest thing with building a business. You just have to kill your ego. Like you have to.
Yeah, like confidence comes like from making mistakes. Like you can't confidence comes from rejection. And that's what I was looking for. Confidence comes from rejection. You cannot build confidence from just playing it safe all the time. Like you
Yeah,
have to be willing to have somebody say to you no. Because when they say no, it means that you're getting closer to your yes. You're able to learn why they're saying no. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you can't take it personally. You know what I mean? People don't really know you. You have friends, you have family, those guys like you. Like there's at least 3 or 4 people in the world that like you personally. So if every other people that you call 10 people in a day and all of them are upset, like like it's not gonna change how I view myself. Like I
yeah.
already I already know I'm valuable. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it comes with time.
Yeah, I like that point you make about failure because I remember interviewing Kundan Joshi. He runs App Lab and he talks about how when you run a business, really, like there are 3 steps to failure. Like failure is really people see failure as the end, but failure is just the world telling you that this stuff you're doing doesn't work, so you should change tack. Now, for a lot of
Mhm.
people, it's hard to do that, which is again tied to killing your ego because there's you just even learning to just say like that's feedback, and you know what, I'll take the feedback. And
Mhm.
then the second part is just like at some point you stop even feeling any when you get that feedback, you're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, thank you so much, and you move on, because you just go like,
Exactly.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, oh, that's what you think, oh, that's good, and then you also learn to kind of separate between when people are talking. I think the Zen stage is when people give you feedback and you start to learn to separate when people are talking through their perspective, because I think one thing about entrepreneurship is that you have to know where you're going, and when people are talking to you, giving you feedback based on where they want you to go.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you now start like, oh, okay, oh, that's what you mean. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and then you just kind of take that and strip it for, like, you strip out every single thing that they're saying, and you see the thing for what it is. I'm like, okay, this is what I can take from this, and this is what I can drop. But he was like that. You can't
Hmm.
get there overnight. Like you kind of have to first learn to even take the feedback without feeling bad, learn to take the feedback as is, then learn to
100%.
now strip the feedback down for what it really is. Because sometimes people will say to you, oh, you should start selling Spanish food, for example. They're just saying that because they want to eat Spanish.
Yeah,
That's
literally.
all. Like that's all. Not
Yeah.
not because not because they care about what, like they'll probably only buy it once and never come back.
Yeah, literally, literally, 100%.
And so
I
maybe the
agree.
lesson there is, oh, okay, maybe I need to diversify my meal menu, something like that. That's a lesson there, not
Yeah.
Spanish food itself. You know, that kind of thing. So I was just like, God, I feel like one of the biggest ways of not fast actually, one of the best ways to change yourself is actually trying to start a business.
Hmm. You speaking now? You speaking? You preaching? You preaching? Bro, I'll get you on a pulpit. Shoot.
Oh God, oh Nazareth.
I feel like honestly, business is just taking on leadership, is taking on
Yeah,
accountability,
yeah,
saying, I'm gonna tell you I'm doing something and I'm gonna do it. Like that that is all business is. Like I feel like if somebody want there's actually a woman who charges people to hug her cows in her farm. She has like a big, lots of animals and people just to come there and hug and she makes millions of dollars doing that. Millions. She's a millionaire. That is her business. She had a farm. The cows, they were she had a lot of cows and she just found that she had a lot of like, she just felt better, I guess, from hugging them. She got a couple of lists, went to the town, got a couple lists of people. They signed up. She gave them the address. They came out, and then the word just spread, and now she makes millions of dollars. Like, it's like you think about that idea, and you're like, what? Like what? Like yo, let me go buy a cow. Shoot, let me go buy a cow. Let me go. Like it can't be that hard. Like shoot, hey, you want to hug a cow today? Let's go to networking events. Just say hey, like, yeah, out my sales pitch or whatever. But this makes you feel like it's the audacity to put
yeah.
yourself out there, right? Like I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of human nature like we struggle to feel like we're enough. Like we've gotten to that point where we have the audacity take out there, but in reality, everybody's pretending, right? Like so, you might as well just join the game, you know,
Student of
and
the
see
game.
where you fit. See where you fit.
Like, if you achieve everything you want with the bridge, what would that prove to you?
If I achieve everything I want with the bridge, what will that prove to me? I would say it would prove that there's power in community. I've spent maybe 1% of my revenue on ads. I spend so much time talking to people, collaborating with people, being vulnerable and honest with people about where I'm at. And that has propelled me so much faster. And if I'm able to hit the point where, like my dream is, we're in airports, we're in malls, we're in, all these different venues, we're in offices, we're in the high rises. Once we hit that point, it will just prove that there is so much power in putting your hand up. Like that would be my slogan for all my speaking opportunities would be the power that comes from putting your hand up and saying I don't know or asking a question is proof of what you can actually create when you do that. It won't come right away, but the beauty of being a human being is learning something new. Like that's why God doesn't reveal everything all at once. We understand everything because if you understand everything, then there's nothing else to learn. Where's the fun in that? I've never been to Bangladesh. I want to visit. I want to see what it's like. I've never been to some of these other places. I haven't eaten some other things. Like that's the joy of life. But if we take only those moments where it's for leisure and we take it apart from where we can learn, whether it's like, for me, and I love learning theology, but also learning like, why are men different than women? Why are we like so prone to have a 9 to 5? Why do people know why do most people not start businesses? Like start asking questions. Like I feel like that would be something that I would feel would prove that it works, you know?
Yeah. You're really the entrepreneur, what they call it, type. Because like my boss currently, the guy I work for right now, so always says that you kind of have to learn to lean into the pain, which is where all those things are. Like you just learn to lean into the pain, and not just be obsessed about the leisure part of it all. the beauty of it all. It's just the pain is also part of the learning. It's part of the journey. It's part of how you become whoever you want to become. It's part of how you prove to yourself that you can do this. And I think the thing about running the business is it just throws you into the pain right away.
Yeah.
There's no filter. There's no one is faffing around with you. It's like, yo, you want to run a business? Boom, into the pain. Go face it. Go deal with it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think most entrepreneurs types are optimists. Like they focus on the 2% that's going well. It's like, oh, we didn't make it, but hey, tomorrow, hey. But
One last question for you before we go to the book of questions. If you sit down with the 9-year-old version of yourself, what would you say to her?
wow, that's a great question. 9-year-old me was hilarious.
I can
Life of
imagine.
the party, life of the party. What I would tell her is, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. I think I was a very big athlete when I was younger, and I was very disciplined. Like I think, and that's why I always reflect on my life, and I thank God because like everything was orchestrated for me to get to this point. Like the people that I met, the friends that I had, the school that I went to, what I was taught, the discipline that was like just ingrained in me from everything that I did. I just feel like God just, he really took his time with planning out my life, and I'm so grateful that I just leaned on him for guidance. But I do think that I wouldn't even change anything. I would say, hey, keep doing what you're doing, right? Like there's going to be opportunities for people to, to have negative comments and things like that because with some of the things that I was given as a young child was very out of like I would say it's very supernatural. Like for me, I was one of the only people in my school that got a Division 1 soccer scholarship to go play in the States for 4 years, like completely free. Like I'm talking like tuition, books, rent, groceries, everything was completely free. Like, like those kinds of opportunities. And then even getting there and the standard, like, in the States, they don't play. Like it's free, but you're paying with something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you ain't paying with money, you're paying with your body. Like they're putting you through it. And I just feel like my life has just been orchestrated by God, and like I wouldn't tell her to do anything. I would say, hey, like maybe actually no, I was gonna say maybe try for the volleyball team, but I actually hate volleyball. I wouldn't have made that team for sure. But yeah, I
I love
wasn't tall
that.
enough either. Yeah.
Cool. And now, book of questions.
Okay.
Between 1 and 291.
170.
And there we are.
Okay, now you're scaring me. You're scaring me. You're scaring me.
Okay.
Good.
If you are relatively happily married, which I think you are, had no kids, which I think you don't have, and met someone you knew would always bring you passionate, intoxicating love, would you leave your spouse? What if you had young children?
Wow. Let's see. I was ready for something like like intellectual, like
Oh God, yeah,
like,
yeah. I said it
wow.
has some of the funniest questions ever, and they
Can
all
I do
range.
can I do can I do 169?
Okay, sure, cool.
169. That one, I'm not married actually.
Oh, I thought you were. Sorry.
No, no, I'm a young kid. I'm still young. I'm still a kid.
Okay. Oh, this is better. Would you like the government to install extensive car and road sensors and automatically ticket anyone speeding, rolling through stop signs, or parking illegally?
Nah. I think, guys, I have a very unique perspective. I think we should have a relative amount of crime, not like for like murder and all the big ones, but the small misdemeanors. I feel like it's character development, right? Like, hey, if you know downtown you can't park and you go there and you park anyways and you never pay your tickets, eventually you learn that the tickets, stack up. You go in there and you still get have to pay for it. So I don't know. I think I would go for like, I don't know. Actually, read the question again. I think it's more along the lines of what like.
Would you like the government to install extensive car and road sensors and automatically ticket anyone speeding, rolling through stop signs, and parking illegally?
Oh, for parking, yes, I think it's character development. Unfortunately, I went through it. I always felt like nobody can ticket me. They're not gonna find me. I parked for 10 extra seconds. Like, I used to be like that, but I grew up. I'm more mature now. But I do think like for like tickets and like for automatically speeding, like what if it was an emergency? You know what I mean? Like what if like, oh, I hurt my leg, for example, I'm trying to go to the hospital. I don't want to pay for Uber. Like I feel like that's a little ridiculous. But for parking, 100%, 100%.
I do think, I mean, I hear you on that. I mean, in terms of like the balance. I mean, I do also think that we kind of need to, it feels, it's a very interesting argument because some people will say to you, what of the folks who probably destroy someone's life in all of that? And maybe someone also ask, like, how many times does that happen? So,
You can't, but you can't prevent, like, people are gonna make decisions, and I think that's something I've also learned with like working with people is you can't always like, what's the word, you can't always like tell people what to do. Unfortunately, just being it plainly, like you can't always like predict what they're gonna decide to do, but you can only put guardrails where somebody's held accountable. I think that's just what the government should be doing in all scenarios, especially as young adults are also watching, right? Like also like I think that's a big thing that I think our government or even a lot of governments don't consider when they make laws. It's like the young adults are also watching how other people are reacting to this stuff to now determine what's the most appropriate way for them to step in. And I do think that, as we allow more and more disruption and whatever, it does make us less, the next generation less likely to follow the rules, you know? And yeah,
thank
yeah.
you so
Yeah,
much.
I'm hoping. I'm curious what 171 is. Just read me what 171. The question, because that 170 was crazy. I don't even know how to
It's
answer that. That's
crazy. It
crazy.
is crazy. Yeah,
And this
I agree.
live, like, what if somebody's wife, watch that and be like, yo, like, what?
It's one is, would you use a drug that made you extraordinarily happy for 12 hours without any side effects? If not, why not? If so, what if it were addictive and you'd soon want to be happy all the time?
That's a great question. I believe I believe there's a difference between happiness and joy. I think happiness is cheap. Like if I gave you $20,000 today, you'd be happy for like a day. You'd be happy, whatever. If I went to go eat ice cream, I'd be happy. But joy is way more expensive. It's like something that you have to invest in gratitude every single day. Like it's way
Yeah.
harder. And yeah, I think any drug that makes you happy is a waste.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree. Actually, I think with the world, we've over-indexed on happiness instead of joy these days, and so because happiness is just a very small division from pleasure, if that makes sense.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, it's very just a little deviation from pleasure. Is your place you find something pleasurable, you can find it happy, and you know something. So when the real thing we should be optimizing for is joy and peace, but so we're focused on how do I feel happy? Do you make me happy? Do I feel happy around you? And it's just like, yo, like
Yeah. And I'm
the,
sure as
the,
a married man, you can speak on that too. Like,
a ton.
I can't imagine, like, like, where do you find joy? Like, she's not making me happy today. Like, I'm gonna cut her off.
You're always never gonna be happy all the time. I think its question is you're never gonna be happy all the time. If you're looking for happiness all the time, I'm like, then you're not ready to grow up.
100%. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree.
because you're never gonna grow up. Then you want to remain a child forever. That's what I tell people.
That's a podcast. That's a podcast topic right there.
Yeah,
Next
but
one.
it's a very sensitive one for a lot of people because I feel like we haven't done really well as a people the past 10, 15, 20 years. We need
When
to
it
kind
comes
of
to happiness,
happiness and culture and
fulfillment.
joy and becoming adults.
Yeah, I would argue that it comes from a place of insecurity because we're waiting for something. Like we're waiting and waiting for something to happen or something to hit or something to, to drastically change our lives. And we become very subjective, like, very emotional, that it's
Mm,
about me and how I feel and what's happening in my life. And, so then anything that causes friction with that is like,
it's a
no, it's not for
problem.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I think that's really, really sad because I know, in being in this industry with food and hospitality, we've lost the joy that comes from acknowledging and being grateful for someone going out of their way to cook you a meal. Like even like going into a restaurant, people don't go there, talk to the chef, or like my condolences, my cheers to the chef, incredible food, thank you.
Yeah,
They leave good reviews, like because these are also businesses. Like people like forget that just because you're coming to a restaurant and you're paying for food, you have the right to just be rude and like act like a food critic. You go there for the first time and you leave a terrible review because of what, Like I feel like the idea of acknowledging and being appreciative of community is so lost. And our
yeah.
yeah, it's
We've
really
lost that.
sad. Like
We've lost that.
really
I
sad.
I like at the sake of being at the risk of being cancelled. I think one of the worst cancers that happened to us as a people is private equity money.
Hmm.
But I'll stop there before someone sends a gunman to my
Hmm.
house.
Yeah, that's a bold statement.
Yeah, I
I have to
honestly
hear.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. I think it's because everything is now numbers and we've lost what it means to build a business. Because part of that, because it in I want to blame the people, but I also think that the people are behaving that way because that's the system we live in. Every business is rolled up. Like every business can be bought and optimized for pennies and dollars. And the people who are working there are treated as just numbers for the beam pole to just basically say, you know what? Oh, we need to make more profit for shareholders. So we're going to fire 1,000 people. And so people just take all that and it just goes downstream to the smaller businesses. That's just what we're seeing.
Hmm.
That's what's happening. So, I mean, PE money is great, but I think that the way it optimizes for the best way to make the money. I don't think that the society we are building downstream of that is great. It's a great society. Honestly, I don't think so.
That's a podcast episode right there. I tuned into that episode. Shoot. I feel like there needs to be more podcasts that address these topics that we actually are like we can actually have a dialogue and discourse about,
Yeah,
right? Like there's so many. I feel like technology is trying to replace like human
yeah,
beings, and like but service based businesses that you have to have somebody there. Like you can't have an AI fix your toilet, or put electricity, like run the electricity in your house, right? Or cook your food, right? Like
yeah,
so if technology is helping enable those things, then as a community we support, we grow, we connect, we meet with each other, we refer each other. Like I love that part of business, and that's why we look forward to building and growing.
yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, Daniela. Let me let you get back to your meeting. This was
Yes.
fun. I absolutely totally enjoyed it, both the part about your journey and this closing section.
Yeah, me too. There's some good questions in there. Good questions
Yeah.
in
Thank you. Everyone, as always, we're on Beehive right now. We're not on Substack anymore. We're on Beehive now. Um, you get this wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcast, you find us there. Ciao.